When the heart changed, fate answered. The quiet storm. London never truly slept. Even at midnight, the city breathed. Through humming streetlights, distant sirens, and the soft rhythm of rain tapping against glass. Ethan Cole stood by the window of his apartment on the 12th floor, staring down at the blurred streets below. Cars passed like streaks of light, people moved with purpose, and life, real life, went on. Yet inside him, everything was still. Empty. He rested his forehead against the cold glass. The chill felt honest, real. Unlike the life he had built, successful, admired, and painfully hollow. I have everything I wanted, so why do I feel nothing? The question haunted him nightly. Broken heart Ethan Cole, a man admired, not understood. At 32, Ethan had what most people called a dream life. A respected architect. A modern apartment overlooking the Thames. A name that opened doors. A smile perfected for meetings and cameras. But no one saw the silence he returned to every night. No one heard the echo in his chest when the lights went off. After his mother's death 3 years ago, something inside him had quietly collapsed. She had been the last soft place in his life, the last voice that prayed for him when he forgot how. His father had taught him strength meant control. Men don't fall apart, he used to say. So Ethan learned how to hold himself together, even while breaking. Cloud with rain, memories, and a name. Thunder rolled gently in the distance. Rain grew heavier, tracing uneven paths down the glass, each drop like a memory finding its way back. And then, without warning, her name surfaced. Sarah. He hadn't said it out loud in months. Sarah had entered his life quietly. No drama. No chaos. Just presence. They met in the reading room of a small community center near Regent's Park. She volunteered there on weekends, organizing donated books and helping people who came seeking quiet more than words. She had noticed him first, not because he was handsome or confident, but because he looked lost. That day he had asked her, half jokingly, "Do you ever get tired of silence?" She smiled, not amused, but understanding. "Sometimes," she said softly. "But silence is where you hear the truth, if you're brave enough." Revolving Hearts, a conversation that stayed. Sarah wasn't loud about her beliefs. She didn't preach. She didn't argue. She simply lived differently. One evening, as rain fell much like tonight, she had been reading from a small, worn book. Ethan didn't recognize the language, but the tone held him. "What is that?" he asked. "A verse about the heart," she replied. Then she translated, slowly, carefully, as if the words were fragile. "Surely, it is in the remembrance of God that hearts find peace." Ethan remembered, laughing lightly. "Sounds comforting. But peace doesn't work like that." Sarah looked at him then, really looked at him. "Neither does pain," she said. "Yet here we are." That moment had followed him ever since. Tornado the storm inside. Lightning flashed across the sky, briefly illuminating the room. Ethan straightened, his reflection staring back at him. Sharp suit, tired eyes, unanswered questions. He whispered to the empty room, "What if I'm the problem?" The thought unsettled him. He had blamed the world, his past, loss, timing, but never himself. Never the way he had closed his heart, shut the door on faith, and replaced meaning with motion. His phone buzzed suddenly. A notification he hadn't expected. An old message thread reopened. Sarah. The last message, sent months ago, unanswered, still waited quietly. Ethan, God doesn't break people to punish them. Sometimes he shakes the ground just enough to wake the heart. His throat tightened. Cloud with lightning the moment everything shifted. Thunder cracked, louder this time. The lights flickered. For a brief second, darkness filled the room. And in that darkness, Ethan felt something unfamiliar. Not fear, not sadness, but longing. A longing to feel whole, to believe again, to stop running. When the lights returned, he grabbed his coat without thinking. Rain or no rain, answers didn't come to those who waited behind glass. He searched for the nearest mosque he remembered Sarah once mentioning, not out of religion, but desperation. Outside, rain soaked his hair instantly. But for the first time in years, he didn't mind getting wet, because somewhere between thunder and prayer, the quiet storm inside him had begun to move. Where the heart begins to listen. The rain had softened by the time Ethan reached the old brick building. It didn't look dramatic. No glowing lights. No sense of revelation. Just a quiet structure tucked between a bakery and a closed bookstore, its entrance modest, almost shy, like it wasn't trying to impress anyone. Ethan stood across the street, rain dripping from his coat, questioning his own sanity. What am I even doing here? He wasn't religious. Hadn't prayed in years. Didn't belong anywhere spiritual anymore. And yet, his feet refused to turn back. Something deeper than logic had brought him here. Cloud with rain stepping inside. The door creaked softly as he pushed it open. Warm air greeted him, carrying a faint scent of clean carpet and something calm, something grounding. The noise of the city faded instantly, like the world had been muted. Inside, a few people sat quietly. No one stared. No one questioned him. That surprised him. He expected judgment. Awkward glances. A sense of you don't belong. Instead, there was only stillness. Ethan hesitated, then sat at the back. For the first time in years, he wasn't performing. Not succeeding. Not impressing, just existing. Seedling the words he didn't expect. A voice began to speak at the front. Steady, gentle. Ethan didn't understand the language at first, but the rhythm was different from anything he'd heard. Not loud, not forceful, intentional. Then the speaker paused and spoke in English. Human beings spend their lives chasing change. More money, more love, more control. But real change begins inside. And until the heart shifts, nothing outside truly will. Ethan's breath caught. The words felt uncomfortably precise. The speaker continued. God tells us clearly, He does not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. Ethan swallowed hard. It felt like the sentence had been written specifically for him. Broken heart cracks in the armor. His mind drifted. To late nights alone. To success that felt empty. To Sarah's voice, calm and certain. What if you're brave enough to listen? Ethan realized something then, something terrifying. He had spent years running from pain, but also from truth. The silence in his chest wasn't absence. It was resistance. And for the first time, that resistance began to crack. Crescent moon after the prayer. When the gathering ended, people quietly stood and left. No pressure. No speeches. No one asking him to stay. Ethan remained seated, hands clasped, staring at the floor. He didn't know how to pray, so he didn't pretend. Instead, he whispered something raw, almost embarrassing. If you're real, and if you can hear this, I'm tired. His chest tightened. I don't want to be empty anymore. The words shook him, not because they were dramatic, but because they were honest. Revolving hearts, an unexpected reunion. As Ethan stood to leave, he nearly collided with someone at the entrance. Ethan, the voice froze him. He looked up. Sarah. She stood there in a simple coat, eyes widened in surprise, then softening into something warmer. I didn't know you came here, she said gently. I didn't know I would either, he replied truthfully. For a moment, neither spoke. So much lived between them, unanswered messages, avoided feelings, quiet disappointment. Finally, Ethan said, I got your message. Months ago. Sarah nodded. I know. I didn't reply because I didn't know how to face what you were saying. She studied him carefully. And now, he exhaled. Now I think I'm ready to stop running. That was all it took. No grand confession. No dramatic music. Just truth, spoken softly. Cloud with rain walking through the rain, together. They walked outside as rain returned, lighter now, almost gentle. London glowed around them, wet streets reflecting yellow lights, the city alive but unhurried. Sarah broke the silence. You know, faith isn't about becoming perfect, she said. It's about becoming honest. Ethan smiled faintly. That might be harder. She smiled back. It usually is. They stopped at the corner where they'd part ways. Ethan hesitated. Can I ask you something? Of course. Do you really believe hearts can change? Sarah didn't answer immediately. She placed a hand over her chest. I believe hearts want to change, she said. They're just afraid of what they'll lose. Ethan looked down, then back up. What if I lose who I am? She met his gaze. Maybe you'll finally meet who you were meant to be. Cloud with lightning, the quiet beginning. That night, Ethan returned home different. Not healed. Not complete. But open. For the first time, the silence in his apartment didn't feel hostile. It felt patient, like something waiting. And somewhere deep within him, a truth settled gently. The storm wasn't there to destroy him. It was there to clear the sky. The weight of becoming. Change never arrives gently. It doesn't knock and wait to be welcomed. It presses. It unsettles. It asks for payment. Ethan discovered this within weeks. Tornado the resistance. At first, the calm felt real. He began waking earlier, walking instead of driving, turning the noise down, inside and out. He returned to the community center, sat quietly during prayers, even when he didn't fully understand them. Listened more than he spoke. And yet, the old world didn't disappear. Emails piled up. Deadlines tightened. Clients demanded more, faster, louder. His firm offered him a promotion, international exposure, prestige, a relocation to New York. Everything he had chased for years. The offer sat open on his laptop like a promise. Or a trap. Broken heart, two paths. One heart. That evening, Ethan met Sarah near the river. The Thames moved steadily, indifferent to human confusion. "I got an offer," he said. She looked at him, waiting. "New York. Bigger firm. Bigger money. Bigger life." Sarah nodded slowly. "And how do you feel about it?" He frowned. "I don't know. I should be excited. But you're not." "No," he admitted. "I'm scared." "Of failing?" she asked. He shook his head. "Of succeeding, and still being empty." The words hung heavy between them. Sarah exhaled softly. Sometimes the hardest thing isn't letting go of pain. It's letting go of the identity built around it. Ethan looked away. "I don't want to lose you in the middle of all this." She turned to him, eyes steady. "You won't lose me by choosing your path," she said. "You'll lose me if you choose it without truth." New moon, the night of doubt. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Old habits crept back in. Scrolling, distractions, numbing noise. He opened the email again. "This is who you are," a voice whispered. "Ambitious. Unstoppable. Alone." Another voice, quieter, unfamiliar, answered back. "Or maybe this is who you were hiding from." Ethan closed his laptop and sat on the edge of his bed. For the first time, he tried to pray, not with borrowed words, but broken ones. "I don't know what you want from me," he whispered. "But I know what I don't want anymore." His chest tightened. "I don't want a life that looks full and feels dead." Silence followed. Not empty silence. Listening silence. Revolving hearts, love under pressure. Days later, tension crept into his relationship with Sarah. Not arguments. Distance. She noticed when he hesitated before speaking. When his eyes wandered during conversations. When ambition quietly clawed its way back in. Finally, she confronted him. "You're standing in the doorway again," she said gently. "Between who you were and who you're becoming." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. What if becoming costs too much? She didn't hesitate. "Then it wasn't becoming," she said. "It was bargaining." The words cut, but they didn't wound. They revealed. Cloud with lightning, the breaking point. The call came on a Thursday. The firm needed his answer. That same evening, Ethan attended the prayer again. This time, the words struck differently. A verse echoed in English. "Truth and falsehood are not equal. Falsehood fades away, while truth remains, like water that gives life." Ethan felt something give inside him. He wasn't afraid of losing success anymore. He was afraid of losing himself again. Cloud with rain, the choice. He called the firm the next morning. Declined the offer. His hands trembled, but his voice didn't. That night, He met Sarah at the same riverbank. "I chose," he said. She searched his face. "I stayed." A pause. Then she smiled, not relieved, not triumphant. "Proud." "You chose honesty," she said. "Whatever comes next, comes clean." Ethan nodded. For the first time, the future didn't feel like a threat. It felt like responsibility. Crescent moon, quiet strength. That night, as he walked home alone, the city felt different. Still loud, still demanding, but smaller. And he, somehow, felt larger. Not powerful, grounded. The storm inside him hadn't vanished, but it no longer ruled him. Because the heart that listens is stronger than the heart that runs. When the heart finally finds its home, change didn't announce itself with fireworks. It arrived quietly, in the way Ethan breathed, in the way he listened, in the way he no longer needed to run. Weeks passed. Life didn't become easier. It became truer, seedling a different kind of success. Ethan stayed at his firm, but something fundamental shifted. He stopped chasing every project, stopped proving himself to people who didn't know his name beyond email signatures. Instead, he chose work that mattered: community housing, restorative spaces, designs meant to heal rather than impress. His colleagues noticed. "You've changed," one of them said. "Calmer, less desperate." Ethan smiled politely. He didn't explain that desperation comes from forgetting why you exist. Crescent moon faith without performance. Ethan no longer feared silence. He learned how to sit with it. Prayer didn't become routine or perfect. It became real. Some days were awkward. Some days were empty. And some days, something softened inside him. He finally understood what Sarah once meant. Peace wasn't the absence of storms. It was knowing where to stand when they came. Revolving hearts' love, refined by truth. His relationship with Sarah deepened, not dramatically, but honestly. They spoke about fear, about doubt, about the future. One evening, sitting in the quiet of the community center after closing hours, Ethan said, "I used to think love was about being completed." Sarah looked at him. "And now I think love is about being supported while you become whole." She smiled. "That's a much braver definition." He took her hand, not urgently, not desperately. Present. Cloud with rain, the final test. One night, as rain returned, gentler than before, Ethan received news of his father's sudden illness. Old fear surged back. Hospitals. Memories. Loss knocking again. For a moment, panic rose. Then something else did too. Trust. Sitting in the hospital waiting room, Ethan whispered, not out of fear, but surrender. "Whatever happens, don't let me forget you." He stayed steady. And when his father recovered weeks later, something unexpected happened. They talked, really talked, about pain, about silence, about the cost of pretending to be strong. Healing didn't erase the past, but it redeemed it. Sunrise understanding at last. Months later, Ethan and Sarah stood on a quiet hill overlooking the city at dawn. London stretched beneath them, imperfect, restless, alive. Ethan spoke softly. I spent years thinking destiny was something that happened to me. Sarah listened. Now I know, he continued. Destiny responds to who we choose to become. She nodded. That's faith, she said. Not blind belief, but courageous change. Cloud with lightning, the truth fulfilled. Ethan finally understood the meaning behind the verse that had once unsettled him. That God does not change lives randomly. That hearts are invited, not forced. That transformation begins the moment honesty does. The storm that once threatened to break him had cleared his sky, not because life became perfect, but because his heart learned where to rest. Red heart final moment. As the sun rose, Ethan turned to Sarah. Wherever this road leads, he said, I don't want to walk it asleep. She squeezed his hand. You won't, she replied. You're listening now. And for the first time in his life, Ethan felt something settle deeply, permanently. He was home.